Hello everyone and welcome back to another Babbling Irons video with myself and Mike today as we preview the upcoming Aston Villa game. Match week 9 already. It's actually gone quite fast. We're now into mid-October. Crazy, but we're still doing pretty well. We're 7th in the league. Obviously Aston Villa doing really well themselves and they've got Conference League as well this year. So they're juggling Europe the same as us and it's their first time back in Europe in a while. So yeah, they're doing well to be fifth in the league compared to us where we're seventh. So let's just take a little look at the head-to-head before we dissect into the actual preview. So both played 8 games. Obviously, they're fifth, we're seventh. Only a couple points in it, 16 versus 14. And they have one more win than us with 5 wins compared to our 4. So fairly similar starts. Aston Villa's home form is what's been the most impressive. I think they've won maybe 6 on the bounce, maybe even more than that in the league. So they're not going to be an easy match at all. Although our recent history against Aston Villa has been pretty good. I don't think we've lost in about 12 games in the Premier League. So it's going to be an interesting battle on Sunday. And what have you made of Aston Villa's starts, so far, and the appointment of Emery and how they've kind of transformed into this, really, really top side?
Yeah, like before we get into that, I think the record is something like 7 conceded and about 17 goals scored by us. It's an incredible record. We haven't lost to him as yet. Touch wood. And I have I do have a wooden table right now that I'm touching very strongly. that continues, and we don't kind of buck that trend of not losing. But since Emery's come, they've been a far different team. Obviously, I think last season we got our very fortunate win against Gerrard's Aston Villa, who were like us, were god awful in that early
Terrible
part.
match that was. Terrible.
Yeah, exactly. A huge deflection. And funny enough, though, when we played them at our ground under Emery, they were terrible in that game. It ended up being a draw, but they were terrible in that game. Yeah. But the injection of pace by putting since they've gone and got Moussa Diaby up top with Ollie Watkins, they are such a dangerous team. Watkins is in the form of his life at the moment.
He's got 4. I think he's got 4 goals, 4 assists in the Premier League so far this season.
It looks like at the moment, anytime he has a shot, he's got a good chance of scoring, and he's absolutely full of himself. Not in a bad way. But what I mean is he is so confident.
Yeah.
That anything he does, he feels that he's going to do well. And he has caused us trouble, when they played against us. So I think it's going to be interesting. Obviously, Moussa as well, he's got incredible pace and kind of plays off him. McGinn seems a bit of a new kind of lust for life, as does Douglas Luiz as well.
Yeah.
They've got a couple of injuries. I think the big thing is Tyrone Mings, being injured, because it does mean that they've lost that kind of authoritative centre back when it comes to kind of deliveries and crosses into the box. That's still a weakness for them. We've kind of mentioned previously about Pau Torres. Whilst he's a fantastic player on the ball, he can be susceptible in the air.
Similar to Agard, really.
Yeah. I think that's probably a fair point. I think Agard
for this season anyway.
Yeah, I think Agard is better in the air than Pau Torres.
Yeah.
But Pau Torres, I would probably say on the ball is a superior player to Agard. Some might argue marginal. I think he is probably better. There's a reason why the likes of Man United, etc., have looked at him and Real Madrid in the past and Barcelona. He's that type of kind of ball playing player. But Emery's done a great job. Last year I think was more about steadying the ship, getting things organised. And this year, I think you can see it's a team that he's allowed to be a little bit more unleashed and a bit more kind of free flowing. And
yeah,
it's also quite odd seeing a team that kind of traditional. If you look at kind of their lineup, they kind of set up in that 4-4-2, which is unusual nowadays. You don't see a really kind of 4-4-2, but however, that in game, it's not really that.
It's very fluid, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a way in which to give Moussa the ability to kind of roam around as well, and interchange with Bailey if Bailey's playing, and obviously gives Watkins that license to drop for the ball and have someone else who can kind of go ahead of him. And they have been entertaining to watching the Premier League. They've seemed to not been as potent in the Conference League. They seem to have not quite found their feet yet. And And I think they've got a number of injuries as well for this game, like Bondia. I think even Ramsey might be injured as well.
Yeah, I think Ramsey was just coming back, wasn't he? So
yeah, I think Mings, as I say, he's definitely out, and potentially I think Moreno is potentially injured left back. So that's arguably a good thing for us. One thing I don't want to see is us concede too much space to Aston Villa, because I do think that, again, with that pace, if you are sometimes sitting deep, it just takes one pass and one bit of pace to kind of unpick you, and then it's difficult because thereafter that you then have to come out and be a bit more expansive yourself, and then you're open to the counter attack because they're sitting on something. So I don't want us to be too defensive, but what has been encouraging is that we seem to have found our feet in our pragmatism. I would say in the last few weeks, we're not, I wouldn't say we're as defensive. I think we've kind of found our feet as to that level of pragmatism we want in how we play.
I think with Aston Villa as well, like you mentioned, they're gonna press really high. They play that high line under Emery, so for us, it's gonna be a defensive match. Going away to Aston Villa at Villa Park, regardless of our recent form against them, is a very difficult place to go. And yeah, they're going to try and squeeze us up the pitch, close off as much space as there is. I mean, we saw a few weeks ago Brighton. They tried to go there and play, didn't work. Aston Villa tore them apart and 6-1 in the end. So, and it could have been more. So
did you hear what McGinn said about that?
Yeah, what was it?
So they was asked about why they did so well and why they essentially how they thrashed them. We watched West Ham. That was his response.
Well, there you go.
That whole idea of if you don't engage Brighton, you're then open to, when you win the ball, if you're able to attack quickly, you can exploit them, which what we did, and that's what they did. So it's
what we're going to have to try and do against Aston Villa as well. I think in balancing it out, because yes, they're still going to be able to unlock us if they do have possession of the ball and squeeze us up, because they've got really good ball players in the middle of the pitch. But also we have the capacity to hurt them when they're pushing so high, and we saw it in the reverse fixture, like you mentioned last season. They were pretty terrible against us at our stadium. And we should have won that game. We had a lot of chances, and they can. One thing with Aston Villa, it's a positive, but it's also maybe considered a weakness in some games, is that they don't really adapt to who they're playing, right, or the situation that presents themselves. I think we saw it maybe a month ago when they went to Anfield and lost 3-0. They continued with the high line against Liverpool, and it just wasn't working. So maybe that could play into our hands a little bit, just because we're a counter-attacking team, and if there's going to be lots of space for the likes of Bowen, Kudus, if he gets his start to run into, Antonio turning defenses, there's going to be some problems for them. Yes, they've been more free-flowing, they've been more expansive, but defensively, they still haven't been amazing. They've only kept 2 clean sheets so far in the league this season. I think they've scored about 19 goals and conceded 12. So it kind of shows that, yes, they're going to score on average over 2 goals a game at the moment, but defensively, they're conceding like 1.5 a game. So there's room there to be exploited if we get it right, and if we're defensively switched on, because we're not great at keeping clean sheets either. Let's be real here. We're going to struggle to keep them out. So in my opinion, we're going to have to outscore them, which is going to be a difficult task, and this is going to be a really tough match. But the spaces are there, and I think we have the personnel to kind of win this. And where do you think this is going to be won or lost? Is it the midfield battle for you, or is there another avenue maybe you're looking at which could potentially win this game for us?
I think it is midfield. I think what we've often done against Villa is we've done well to sit in and let them play with the ball, and then when we've needed to, we've bullied them. Yeah. And I think that's what it is. There was the sour grapes from McGinn a few seasons back. I think when we beat them 4-1, they came here for a draw, and it's like we attacked you from minute one. We actually wasn't defensive. We attacked you from minute one. We were brutal in the counter attack, and I think 2 of the goals came from us actually being. I think Declan Rice was a long ranger, and the other one was Ben Johnson. I think in that game he cut in from the right side and it was a left footer.
He smashed him 4-1.
Yeah, exactly. It was a 4-1 victory. It's just like, what are you on about? Salty McGinn. But I don't think it's going to be like that kind of game. But I think where we potentially can get against them is, again, in those physical duels and those physical battles. They have a lot of pace. That's something we're going to be incredibly wary of. I do think it may be a set piece game. that can be a decider, or us getting them on the counter. I think
Shock.
yeah, exactly. I think that the interesting one is going to be, does he go for Kudus? The argument is you don't change a winning team. I completely agree in some respects, but we've had this conversation as well. Sometimes just maybe look at it as to, well, where can you change it up? And I think with the way Kudus is playing, I think we'd be a bit remiss not to play him against a team that, as you say, play a high line. They're going to look to be aggressive. They're going to look to attack us. And as we've seen with him, and obviously the last minute goal he got, the other day for us, kid, is that he's a player that can come on and drop into those little pockets of space that can help us change the game. And I would say Newcastle are a higher level than Villa, but they play fairly similar.
Yeah.
I think someone like Kudus has shown that if you get him in a position where he can, find those pockets of space, it does mean that, that question that we've asked, do you drop one of the midfielders? And we know it's going to be one possible midfield that could be dropped, which would be incredibly harsh because he's doing very well at the moment. And the same with the forwards. We've got a striker who's in pretty good form.
Yeah.
Do you drop him for, say, Paqueta to go in that position, and then you have a dynamic kind of front three with Kudus, Paqueta, and Bowen? And it's a nice dilemma for Moyes to have. I think it depends
how Moyes wants to. It depends how Moyes wants to approach it, isn't it? So, you look at it from the Kudus angle, as we mentioned on a previous video with the Kudus debate for this match, actually. So, with Kudus, you know what you're going to get. He's going to find those spaces which Aston Villa will leave, inevitably, the way they play in between that midfield and defensive line. And he will get the ball on the half turn. And he has that turn of pace. And he has that, transition that Jesse Lingard gave us for so long, and it's something that's been missing under David Moyes in that transition.
Destroyed Aston Villa because of that. Because of that ability to play in that way, he destroyed it.
And that was the game where Jesse Lingard just came straight into the starting 11. It was he signed, and a couple of days later he's back in and scoring 2 goals.
That game from him, one from Souček, and
Lingard got 2 goals. Yeah, Lingard got 2 goals, and Souček scored 1. So it's either he goes down that route or he maintains with Souček and, like you mentioned, tries to bully them, gets to set pieces, tries to break up play, keeps Souček in the middle and keeps Paqueta out on the left. For me, I think David Moyes will stick. I don't think he'll bring Kudus in for this match. And I think because of obviously him being away on international break and it's quite a quick turnover for Kudus, that might play into it, as well as it's even rumored that Alvarez might as well be in that situation. But yeah, that's kind of there's 2 big debates going into this with our lineup. Is Kudus and whether he comes into that midfield, which we both don't think he will for David Moyes on this time. But the other kind of big one is in defence, and it's Aged or Mavropanos or even Kehrer for Aged. So what's your stance on it, Mike? Would you stick with Aged for this match, or would you change it? Because it seems like the mistakes continuously keep happening. Is it kind of last chance saloon for Aged, or is it time up now?
The problem is, neither Tilo or Mavropanos have been absolutely outstanding, dominating in the Euro games. They've been well. Neither of them have been, outstanding. And Kehra's probably played, been playing more fullback when he has played, doesn't he? Play centre back, and Oggy, someone we've completely been ignored in this conversation again. He made a huge mistake in Euros, and I don't think the Euro game, sorry, not Euros, and hasn't. His pace is going, whilst his mind's there, but I don't think sometimes his body can maintain some of it because of the pace. He can't always keep up, despite him being incredibly solid for us still. I think with Aged, whilst the second goal from Isak was, him allowing himself to be bullied and thinking it was offside, should have played the moment rather than trying to claim.
Yeah.
I do think there were other things about Aged's play that were incredibly positive. The 40-yard ball carry that he had, dragging the ball from our own area, dragging it into Newcastle's. It's things like that he can do. It's those switches of play. He's probably our only defender who has the ability in which to make those kind of moments. Mavropanos can make those runs because he's 6'4" powerhouse when he gets going. He's so hard to stop. But I think Mavropanos at this point would also play within himself in the sense of, I just need to defend first. I need to secure a place. And I don't think he will probably come in as yet. And again, because he's right side, I don't think he'll want to put a right-sided footballer in there. We've seen with Zuma when Aged was out, we struggled, and I think his first choice is always going to be Aged.
Yeah.
But as we have seen with Tilo, especially when we think about the Arsenal game last season alongside Zuma, he was imperious in that game against Arsenal.
Yeah.
We know he can do it. I'm just not sure. Again, we talk about pulling the trigger on Kudus. I don't think he'd be willing to do that.
Yeah.
With Aged. I think if another mistake happened that led directly to a goal, then yeah, I think it was probably time to do that. But I think there is enough in his game that would convince Moyes that I need him because of his recovery, because of the way he covers for Emerson, and they're developing a good understanding. The way he does cover for Emerson and his general ability to recover is very important because, if you watch Zuma, he's limping in every game and his recovery pace isn't what it used to be.
Yeah.
And probably Mavropanos, in fairness, was clocked as one of the fastest players in the Bundesliga, a couple of seasons back. So I don't think we'll have much issue with him doing that either. But
yeah, I think for Moyes, it's whether, like you mentioned, he wants to disrupt that back four. That they haven't, there has been mistakes back there, but we're still doing pretty well. Have still been pretty good. Like you mentioned, Aged has had some very good moments as well. So it's whether he wants to do that. Again, I don't think Moyes is particularly a risk taker. So I don't think he would do that. And I think, like you mentioned, unless he gives him a clear reason in this match to drop him, when we've got, Europe coming up and Everton at home, games maybe more winnable on paper. I don't think he would change that. So, yeah, I think
the biggest opportunity for a change is Kudus. But again, I'm not sure he's quite ready yet to pull the trigger, because I think once you do that, it does change how we play, and not for worse. I think it actually, Moyes said last year wanted to be more possession based. I think he really kicks that possession based football into gear, because all of a sudden, Paqueta, Alvarez, and Kudus are very good on the ball, and then you've got Ward-Prowse, obviously, as we know, is, if he's given time with the ball, he's got an exceptional range and will hurt anyone. So you could argue that it actually takes it into hyperdrive. It's just, I'm not sure Moyes is quite yet ready to pull that trigger, because I don't think he quite yet knows whether we can operate without Souček and whether we can operate without Antonio. And I think that's the reason why we haven't seen the Kudus yet, is because he's as yet unable to reconcile as to, can we play the way that I want us to play without them? And because he's yet to try that with that first team, and because he's new, he's still not ready to commit. He's a bit of a committophobe, I think, sometimes to new players. But Kudus keeps doing what he's doing from the bench. He's gonna force his hand sooner or later, and he may very well force his hand this weekend. I would love to see him in the lineup. I think he deserves to be in there. And I don't envy Moyes, because it is a difficult choice. He's going to be damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. At this point.
What's your kind of initial thoughts then as we give our predictions for the game? Because like you mentioned, they're going to play that high line. There's going to be space for us to exploit on the counter, but they're a very good attacking side, a very difficult place to go, and we're going to have to be very resolute defensively and also clinical when we get our chances. So how are you feeling? Are you confident? What's your kind of initial score prediction going into the game?
I feel a draw might be what it is. It's tricky to mix Villa, and I don't think, if it was Villa of last year, I think I probably would have been more positive if we're playing in the way we are, that we might nick something. Villa's an interesting one because they're playing some great stuff. Sometimes they're being consistent, but they're brilliant at Villa Park, so it's really tricky. I think he's going to play the same way in terms of, I don't think he's going to bring anyone else in, but if I was Moyes, I would be turning around to the likes of Antonio saying, just put yourself in Pau Torres. He's not the strongest. It's not always the quickest. Just put yourself on him and just try and bully him and empty your tank. I would just be telling to Antonio, I don't see you finishing this game, because what I think you can do is, I think you can go and hurt them in 60 minutes. And I want you to absolutely empty your tank. And also, it might be a boost to Antonio for him to say, no, I'm going to prove I can bully and absolutely hassle and harry him for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And it might be that kind of, that reverse psychology of I'm
Yeah.
probably going to take you off after 60 minutes. That's my game plan because I want you to empty your tank. And it might just, G up Antonio to go, no, I'm going to make it impossible for you to take me off, which would be good. And I really think it's going to be a set piece game for us. We've been, I know it sounds ridiculous because we've been so brilliant. All of our goals have by and large been from open play, and they've been brilliant pieces of open play football as well. That's actually brought those goals about. But I think against Villa, I think Moyes will want to try and keep it tight and keep it secure. And it is going to be from us, it is going to be that countering game. And it is going to be about trying to get them on set pieces. What will be interesting is to whether we kind of go like we did against Brighton, where we pretty much just didn't engage until the ball was like a heavy touch, and then we kind of went. That's going to be interesting. And the thing that I'm actually looking forward to watching, to be honest, again, is Paqueta with Emerson. Just I'm really enjoying how they play. I know I keep saying that I'm not a huge fan of Paqueta on the left. That's because you don't get enough of the winger aspects out of him, but the interplay between him and Emerson is always beautiful to watch. It's a tough game. I think I lean to like 1-1 or 2-2 as a kind of one. I don't see us not stopping them scoring the way that Watkins is playing, and our defense is strong yet weak at the same time.
Final prediction. Come on, Mike, give it to me.
Well, let's go for a Desmond. A nice 2-2.
Okay. Yeah. No. I mean, I called the last prediction right, and you were just off with the 2-1. So I'm gonna go like I've gone reverse. So you've gone 2-1. I'm gonna go 2-1 West Ham this time. So it's a tough one, but we're playing so well. We're winning games, and you look at our away form so far this season as well. We've picked up some really good results. Brighton, going to Luton. I think that's an underrated win as well, considering the circumstances of it all.
It's absolutely underrated. I think we did an incredible job there. First game, and you just got to look at how Sky Sports were picking it up. Everyone wanted us to lose that game because they wanted the fairy tale Luton start at home. So,
yes, so I think for me, I think we'll continue that. I think we'll be fresh after the international break, and I just think we're going to have chances in this match. I really do. The way we play, it's going to depend on whether, like you mentioned, whether we're defensively switched on and we're resilient, and we're going to have to ride our luck because they're going to have a few chances. But again, with the form Areola's in, and with the way we've been playing, I really am confident that we're going to get something from this game. And I'm just going to edge a 2-1 win for us. So brave but bold, and risky prediction, but hopefully it pays off, and hopefully we can keep our momentum going in the league. But let us know in the comments what you guys think, what the score's going to be. Is it going to be a tough game? Is it maybe a game you anticipate being a little bit easier than others are predicting? So let us know in the comments. That's going to be all for today. Make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already, and Mike, until next time,
come on, you
irons.